This is how we do it. This is how we do it. Sha-la-la-la-la-la. If you don't know what song I'm talking about, this is Montel Jordan from back in, I think, 1994 or 95, 94, 95, something like that. I'm definitely a child of the 90s. I am Jen Sugarmeyer. I'm your host of Higher in Heels. And F it, it's Friday. Ladies, it is Friday. And I am so I don't know about you, but it feels like a really short week because Monday was a holiday and that like throws everything off. And so on Wednesday, I was like, is tomorrow Friday? Like I just was completely off the entire week. But we are about to launch into the weekend. And I'm so excited because June is Pride Month. And I absolutely love Pride. Everything was canceled last year because of COVID. Now the world is starting to open back up in limited capacity. And so there's going to be a festival here in Dallas, Texas. So I will be out there showing my pride with all of my colors. So I wore my favorite yellow in honor of that and because it's Friday and that's just what I was feeling. So I was thinking about what we would want to talk about today. And this week we've been, because it is Memorial Day week. It was on Monday, which Memorial Day is about honoring those who have served in the United States military, and maybe it means some others as well, but those who have died for this country, and they fought for our freedom. And there are so many things that we get to enjoy about our life here as a citizen, and we don't think about it. We don't think about these freedoms because we have them, but somebody was out there before us fighting for them. And so I wanted to honor some women today, and I wanted to pose the question of what's the legacy that you want to live. So first, let's just honor a few of the women that have paved the way before us, because the truth is there there are so many as we go back through time, and I think over the last 100 years we've made incredible strides of how far we've come as a nation and as a world. And I look back, and I mean, women couldn't even vote back in the early 1900s. I think it was just a little over 100 years ago. Wait, when could women vote? I don't know. I'd have to go back and fact check. Maybe it's less. Maybe it's less, but women couldn't vote. Like we couldn't really work. I mean, it was a whole nother ball game, and it doesn't resonate with me. In fact, I remember when I went to the Middle East, and Middle East, the women are not, I will say equal. Let's just say equal. Women are not viewed as equal as men. I've had to sit in closets, which is really weird. I go to a restaurant and they're like, you can't sit out here with the men, but you can go to this back little closet. I swear, I'm not even kidding. And I remember I was going through passport control, and I was with my ex-husband at the time, and they looked at me, or they didn't look at me. They were looking at my ex-husband talking to me. And I'm like, they're like asking him questions like, Miss Sugarmeyer? I'm like, hello, hello, like right here, right here. They're looking at him. But it's a whole different mindset. And it doesn't resonate with me because I've had, I've never experienced this before. This isn't the culture that I knew. And it's because people went before us. And so we started talking on Tuesday when we kicked the week off about what is it that you're fighting for? What gets you so passionate? And I want to pose the question today, what's the legacy that you want to lead? So here's just a few women. Sybil Ludington. Back in 1777, she's 16 years old. She hopped on her horse. Okay. She didn't have a car. She didn't even have nothing with a motor. She hopped on her horse and rode 40 miles to tell a group of 400 militiamen that the British were coming. I mean, that is so brave. That's brave. And I bet she didn't think about it. I bet she just saw that the British were coming and said, I have a responsibility. Think about that for a minute. What have you seen in your life that you say, man, coulda, woulda, shoulda? And maybe let's think about acting on some of those things. If your gut is telling you go, do it. Go do that. What's that thing that was saying, man, I should have helped that person as I saw them struggling? Or man, I should have jumped in. So many times it's like, do we interject here? Do we not interject? Maybe just follow our gut. I'm sure that this whole country has had some effect. I mean, play that out. If the British had come and taken them out, I mean, who knows? There could be generations of people that don't exist here in the United States because she saved lives. That's the kind of impact that you and I can both have. Yeah, that may not have made a difference if we won the war or not. I don't know, maybe. But all of the lives that she saved, and they were able then to go create more life, that created more life, that created more life, that maybe was actually you or me. So what's out there that you can jump on? What's that horse and that initiative that just drives you, that you say, "Man, I know I should go do this." And you go do it. I think it's beautiful. Jane Addams, she was a pioneer for change. She decided she didn't want to have kids. This was back in the 1800s. And at that time, ladies, we were baby making machines. That's what we were for. We were for cooking, we were for cleaning. And I think we saw a lot of this creep back up in 2020. I'm just saying. There was a lot of this, and we've seen statistics about how women started taking on a lot of the stereotypical woman role, and we've seen a lot of burnout because of it, because ladies, we don't just have that one job, we have many jobs. So I'm not going to get all into that. But Jane Addams decided that she wanted to dedicate her life, that she wasn't going to get married, that she wasn't going to have kids, and she wanted to dedicate them to kids. And um, so she ended up getting a Nobel Peace Prize because she did so much work to help child labor and all of this, and she just poured her heart into the children. Hi, Hedy Lamarr, I don't know if I said that right, but she's revered as the most beautiful woman in film. And this was back in the 40s. She was born in 1942. She actually invented Wi-Fi of all things. So proof that yes, you can have brains and you can have beauty. I just love it. And she's gorgeous. I don't know if you can see that. Look at how beautiful she is. Anyway. All right. Jeanette Rankin. Okay, Jeanette, I love you, Jeanette. Jeanette was the first woman in politics. And by the way, when she was elected, women could not vote. Think about that. You don't have your people behind you. They're not even eligible to vote. And you say, you know what? I'm going to do this because it's the right thing. So women can't even go out to the polls and support her. And she's like, I'm getting into politics. Yes, I am. So Jeanette, you get a huge round of applause in my book. So sometimes we want that comfort as we're looking around us and we're like, okay, do I have my people behind me? And Jeanette is proof that we can go out there and we can do things and not have all of the support. Now, women can vote now, so it doesn't mean that your people won't always be there. But sometimes we got to break those barriers. We've got to get out there and we've got to show up for the cause. We said this yesterday, and we're going to say this over and over. Change doesn't happen by chance. Change happens because we make it happen. Do you know how intimidating that must have been for Jeanette? Think about her. She's like going where no woman has gone before, literally. And she said, that's okay because I'm going to be the first. Remember, we talked about that brain being a goal-achieving machine, and it's always looking for the justifications. And so whatever we set our mind to, if she says, like, I can't do this, then she absolutely wasn't going to do it. But she said she could. And she went out and she proved it. Stepping into that unknown it can be so scary if we want it to be scary. Or we can look at this as a challenge, as our mission, as our goal in life, as our legacy. And that's what she did. She said, this is the legacy that I want to leave. And now we don't think about it. Okay, ladies, we have less than 20%. I think there's I have to go back and fact check. 22 women leaders throughout the entire globe. So that's like the president, that's the head of state. I think they're 20. I have to go fact check that, but it's like it's 20%, 18%, something like that. So we're not equal. But we don't think about it as much as we used to. It's not completely foreign. In fact, that's what the show is about is, hey, let's equal these numbers out. That's what I want you to get inspired every day is to step into your most powerful self. And guess what? When you do, you just automatically start to rise. And if you want to go do that thing, if you want to go be that person, if you want to go save that whatever, you can. But you got to believe in yourself. And that's why we talk about the tools in our mind. So what are we doing? We're strengthening ourselves every single morning. We're grabbing that cup of coffee and we're like, okay, let's get inspired by these women that went before us. And what's the legacy that we want to lead? And lastly, Marsha P Johnson. Gotta mention Marsha because she was the first LGBTQ. I think now it's IA, but at the time this article was written, it was LGBTQ. I'm not even sure what IA stands for. Anyway, I will catch up. I will learn. I will do my research. But she was the first LGBTQ queen that came out back in the 1960s. How scary. It has been, I remember back in the early, let's see, this must have been the 90s. My best friend, rest in peace, his name is David, and he passed away. He committed suicide. And he was gay and he did not feel accepted. And this was back in the 90s. Miss Marsha was back in the 60s. And David he wasn't cross-dressing. He wasn't a drag queen. He wasn't, and nothing. He just didn't feel accepted. He didn't feel that acceptance from his peers, from people. I've seen this in my own generation. I'm probably the last generation that maybe has seen some change because now we have, 2 years ago, I was in San Diego. There was like 800,000 people out there for their pride. Hello, huge, massive communities. But it took people like Marsha. Did I get it right? It was Marsha. Yeah, it was Marsha. I was like, don't let me say the wrong name. But it took people like Marsha to stand up and say, you know what? I refute what you think about me and my people, and this is who I want to be. When I stepped out, I think often about me stepping out. I didn't want to talk about my addictions for so many years because I was going to lose my job and people were going to judge me and would I get the respect and would people want to date me and just all the things that went through my mind. And, I was going to be some leper if I came out and I told my story. And it kept me sick for so many years. I felt that I didn't have anywhere to go to talk to. And instead of going out and seeking help or raising my hand and pioneering my own way just for myself, I just sat there and I suffered. And that's why it took me 10 years to get sober. I never bought alcohol more than I could consume in one night. Honest to goodness story. Never. Because I didn't believe that I was going to be drinking more than that day. Today was always going to be my last day. Do you know how sad that sounds? That for 10 years you wake up and you say, today is the day. And it doesn't happen. But I still had that hope. I had that hope for me, which is why I'm here today. Because I guarantee if I had kept going down that road, that I wouldn't be here today. But I believed in myself. I believed in what I was doing. And when I made the decision to come out and say my story, I decided to do it in a huge way. I mean, I've been on shows. It's in a book. I have this mural that's coming out. I'll tell you a little bit more when that does drop. But there are some we're talking about it here. Everybody in the world can access this. Yeah, that's right. So when I decided to come out and say my story, yeah, it was for me. But I also wanted to show people that there is no shame in this. And I'm no different than anybody else. Yeah, I was a leader. I was a corporate leader. That I was still capable of paying taxes and going to church and doing all the things that people that don't have an addiction deal with. I could still be a good contributor to society. I just have this thing that needs to be dealt with, and it's a disease. And that I shouldn't be looked at as a disease, but my disease should. So there's nothing wrong. We should be able to speak up about addiction just like we do cancer, diabetes, any of these things. And so I started to come out and tell my story. And you know what? It was the first time that somebody said, wow, Jen, thank you. Thank you. That's changed my life. And you think, man, I was just setting out to break. I'm like, you know what? I'm not going to be in suffering, and I don't do anything a little bit. I'm kind of like all in or I'm not. So there's not a whole lot of like middle ground in my world. I'm committed or I'm not committed. So when I committed, that was it. I said, if I continue to stay silent, then I'm part of the problem. And I want to be part of the solution. So I'm going to come out in true Jen Sugarmeyer form, and I'm going to start talking about it. And so I put stuff out there on social media, and I found podcasts to go talk on, and radio shows and TV and all the things. And guess what? People started to listen. And people will resonate with your story. Whatever your story is, there's somebody out there that's going to resonate. And you don't have to have an addiction and step out and all the things to make a difference. It could be anything. You could decide that you, as a female, want to be the breadwinner in your family, and your husband is going to be a stay-at-home dad. Guess what? That's still an area that has a little taboo around it. We're just not there as a society completely, where there's this full acceptance. I'm just calling a spade a spade. We're not there, but that's part of what the show is all about. Let's be more inclusive. It doesn't even have to be that. It could just be being a good human being. What does a good role model look like? Because maybe you have kids, maybe you don't, but somebody's watching. I don't think Mother Teresa had kids. We talk about her. Be like Mother Teresa. You don't even have to go to that extreme. But your life, people are watching. And I already know that you are a high achieving woman because you are sitting with me here today. I know this. And you want to make a difference. You are a heart-centered individual. You love people. You love making a difference. So what is it, that thing that you say, man, I should do that? That thing in your gut that's like, oof, I just want to get on that horse and go tell those 400 militiamen that the British are coming. What is that thing for you? What's the legacy that you want to lead? You want us to be talking about Marsha here 50 years later, 60 years later. Oh my gosh, 60 years later. Oh, the 60s were 60 years ago. It's so crazy how time passed. You know what's really crazy? Just a little sidestep, okay, is that like my music is now almost oldies. Like, how does that happen? I remember, and I'm sure my parents thought the same thing, because I'm listening to oldies, but it was their generation music, but I didn't think about it. And now I'm listening to music and they're like classic rock. And I'm like, oh my gosh, is this a classic? I mean, it is classic music. I will say that the 90s was, because that's my genre. I love all music, but 90s, like, for sure. And yeah, now we're in the oldies music. It's crazy. But what is it that fires you up? What is that legacy that you want to leave for your family, with your grandkids? Do you want to change the generational wealth in your family? Do you want to break out of what you've always known, which maybe wasn't even middle class? Maybe it was the lower middle class to, on the poorer side. And you say, you know what? I'm going to change the dynamic. Or you say, you know what? I'm going to be that first person to go get my master's, my bachelor's, my PhD. I want to go do that. And then I want to do something with that. I don't know what it is for you, but that fuel, that passion, ladies, let's tap into that. Let's tap in, because you know what? We can change the world. And who knows in 60 years if they're going to be reading your name, my name, but that's my hope for you. So that's it. So it's Friday. So I want you all to do something nice for yourself, because self-care Saturday, self-care Sunday, maybe just self-care weekend. Go do something that makes you feel good, that you feel, oh, just like a queen that you are. And remember, it is Pride Month. So I am doing all colorful social media. You're welcome to follow me on Instagram, Facebook, any of them. Yeah, my name is Jen Sugarmeyer. You can go find me out there. And I also do one-on-one coaching. And so if you feel like, hey, I need some, just that little extra, let me know. Go to jensugarmeyer.com and let's schedule a free consultation. Their spaces are limited, but they're there for when they're there. So go snag one and let's talk about how I can help you. So that's that. Make sure you like, make sure you subscribe, and don't forget self-care this weekend. And I will see you back here on Monday at 6 a.m. or you can watch the rerun at 6 a.m. Central. So I'm coming up. I want the world to know, I'm gonna let it show. What, ladies? What? We're coming up. Yeah, that's right. We want the world to know, we're gonna let it show. That's right.